Hey loves, welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's all Ashley. Today I'm going to be doing plaits on my husband's hair. I'm going to be giving you guys a step-by-step guide of what I do to create these plaits. My biggest thing that I start with is my parting. It's not a must, but I will tell you, whenever you're doing different sections of plaits like this, it is easier to go ahead and go throughout the head and just section off the hair in different sections. That way you don't run out of room when you get to the end. As you can see, I'm sectioning off a little bit below the ear, and then for my second portion, I'm going right by his temples, so from temple to temple. And just kind of brushing the hair through. I did do a quick blow dry. I didn't do it to where it was like bone straight or anything, but that's fine because when we apply the product, it will kind of brush through the hair and make it a little bit easier and longer. So I'm just sectioning off in two different sections, one row but two different sections, and then I'm going out to the top of the head and creating a part, and I'm kind of doing it in a circular motion, like on the crown of his head, because this is going to be where we put our 6 braids at. So this one, I'm going to do it, my guide for this is going to be kind of the mid part of the eyebrow to the temples, going into the temples, and then I just divide it in the back. As you can see here, it's going to be the same row, but I'm just dividing it that way it can stay neat and I know where I'm going. Then I just start with doing my bottom row. So I use my Shiny Jam, of course. I love this stuff on on hair for whenever you're braiding. I feel like it does add moisture to the hair, and it just gives us that shine, that sleek look, kind of the look that I'm going for here. I just apply it to the roots of the hair and just brush it through with the comb. That's why I say it's not a must that you get the hair bone straight, because once we apply the product and we're working in sections, we can get it pretty manageable to do the braids. And then I just start off, if you know how to do braids, like if you were to like braid a ponytail, that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm just gathering all the hair and getting my 3 pieces, and I'm just doing a regular braid. So kind of like a over under is the technique that I'm using here, brushing the product through, and see if I can get it to where you can see I'm doing brushing it in and grabbing my 3 sections right here, and then just doing over under, just twisting all the way to the end of the hair. Then I'm doing my next part. Now the bottom row, this I am going to place 4 plaits, so 4 plaits along the back row, and you can adjust this as desired. I don't want them to be too big and I don't want them to be too small, so I feel like 4 is like the perfect, gets me nice with a nice medium size. Doing my last one on the first row. Just remember, we're doing like a regular braid, like if you were to braid a ponytail. Just over under is kind of what I call it. That's my technique, I tell myself. Then we're going to our second section that we sectioned off. This one for the ear, what I do is I go a little bit behind the ear, so I'm sectioning it off. And I go probably, because I'll go back in and kind of edit this one, probably maybe like 1/2 inch from behind the ear. And that will be my guide. That's also going to be the guide that I use for my other side as well. Placing my product at the top, the bottom, and both the sides of the hair. And then I'm just using my comb to just kind of brush the product from the roots to the end of the hair. And I just go in, start my braid, and remember, we're braiding all the way to the end of the hair. And then I get my next section. Now for my second section of plaits, I am doing seven to the back. I will tell you a little bit of a trick when I do this. I don't necessarily do it all the time, but it is easier to focus on these 2 plaits here on the side, then go do the other 2. And then you let your last 3 kind of be towards the back of the hair. That has helped me to make sure that everything's kind of even and we're not getting plaits too big, too small. So this one, the plait, I just say from about 1 inch behind the ear to the to not the middle of the head, but just kind of off on there on the side. Again, place that product on the top, the bottom, the sides, and then just brush it through. You can see how it's making the hair nice and shiny and smooth. And I'm going in just doing a regular braid, and I'm going from the root all the way to the end. There we go, we got 3 plaits. So over here we're going to do, it'll be 3 on the side, and then we'll get 1 nice in the middle there. And I will tell you, whenever I'm doing like around the temples or around the edges of the head, I do place a little bit more product because obviously it's our edges. And I feel like that's kind of like the most important part. You want that to be nice. You want it to be smooth. You have to be careful depending on the style. Like if we were doing straight backs, it would be a little bit harder to get it neater because the product does lay the hair down to where it's harder to grip. But for this particular style, I can be a little bit heavier with the Shine and Jam braiding stuff that I use. I just place a generous amount. Remember, we're doing the top, the bottom, and the sides. And then when we get the product there, we're just brushing it in or combing it in. All right, and then we're just going to do a regular braid from the top to the ends. And if you have a little bit of product build up like that around the braid, it's fine. It's to be expected because you are putting a lot of product on and you're braiding it at a, pretty tightly. You can just run your fingers through it, just kind of grab it and just take the excess product off. It's not really a big deal. So as you can see, I'm doing number 3. This one's same side as the other one, not totally off in the back, but it's more so on the side, a little bit behind the ear to the middle of the head. And we're just putting our product in, and then we're doing our regular braid all the way to the end. And then for our last plait in this section here, this will be plait number 7. This one will end up being directly in the back of the head. And put our product on there, and we're just braiding from the root of the hair all the way to the end. Now we're in our 3rd section of our hair. Now for this section, it's going to be the same as our last section. We're going to be doing 7 braids. You can kind of think of it as like kind of 3 going towards the back, and then you got the 1 in the middle. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's just kind of a good guide to use. Again, you can see I'm using a generous amount of product because that's around the edges. I just want to make sure that that portion is pretty smooth. Do our regular braiding. Start from the roots and we'll go all the way down to the end. And I'm kind of going in between the braids of my last row. You don't have to do this. For this particular style, I just think it's a little neater to have it in between each plait. brushing that product through, and then again we're gonna do just our braiding from the roots all the way down to the end. And as you can see, it's slowly starting to come together here. We can kind of see our style start to pop. What I did is I did the 3 over there, and then I'm going off to my other side, kind of what I suggested doing earlier. Brushing that product through. Again, since it's around the edges, keep in mind that you can put a little bit more. I'm kind of heavy-handed anyways with my product use, so yeah, that's just something that I do. It's my technique. Just putting a little bit more product on it. I like it to be nice and smooth. All right, braiding all the way down to the end, and then we're gonna go into the next plait in this row. This will make it row number 3 and plait number 2. And you can kind of see I'm just kind of going through and just detangling the hair as needed. And you can kind of see the reason why I went ahead in the beginning and just plaited, I just sectioned off different sections for the hair with my clips. It does make it easier. It makes this process, you can pretty much just move from row to row, you know, and because you may want to do the plaits differently next time, it does allow you to pick and choose the size of them. You don't just section off every little individual, more so focus on the rows itself. So then we're going to be doing our last 2 in this section. You can kind of see how this middle one is right there in the middle of the hair, and then we'll do one more after and we'll make it 7. All right, so off to the top of the hair, what I do is I use the tip of his nose as my guide. Try not to pick up the comb, because I will tell you, you will have to battle with the part being crooked. So try not to. I know you see me doing it here, but I will tell you it is a lot easier if you do not pick up the comb. Just use the tip of the nose as the guide and go straight back. I'm placing my product on it. It's a good to kind of keep the wild hairs from crossing over to the other side or getting into the piece of the hair that I'm braiding. I'm going to be doing 6 braids up top with 3 on each side. I like to start with the back of the braid here. The back of the part to do my braid, my first one. Put the product in. Do the same that we've been doing. Just gonna push our product down in our hair, and then we're going to braid from the root all the way down to the end. I'm kind of doing it at an angle. I would say it's more like catty cornered a little bit. And just brush it down to the end. We're doing our next section. Making sure, try to get everything as close to even as possible with the sizes. All right, smoothing the product in and doing our braids, grabbing our 3 sections, and we're doing like a regular braid from the root all the way down to the end. All right, and then we're doing our last plait on the first side. Putting our product in. Remember, you can put a little bit more because it's the edges. You want it to be nice and smooth. And brushing from the root, braiding all the way from the root all the way to the end. Going off to our other side, we're going to use the other side as our guide. So we just want to place the part on this side to the other side of the head. We just want to make them pretty equal. That way we have the same size braids in the front. We don't want one big braid, one small braid. Place your product in, and then we're just going to braid all the way down from the root of the hair all the way down to the end. And same thing with the second for the top. We're going to use the other side as our guide. Place a little bit of product on there to get it smooth. Make sure the other side doesn't go into this plait. Get all those flyaways. Brush it through. And once it's nicely brushed through, we are just going to take our 3 sections and do a regular braid from the root all the way to the end. Alright, so here we've come to the end. We're doing our last plait, put our product in, smooth it out. Then we're going to be grabbing our 3 sections and braiding it all the way to the end, so from the root to the end. And here we go. We have our plaits. Let me know what you guys think. And I will see you guys on my next tutorial. Thank you for tuning in. See you guys.